Fans, welcome to this week's Sports Chat. John and I are flying solo today, which makes no sense because there's two of us. Luke apparently had to go to Canada for the weekend.
He does go to Canada at least 3 weekends a month.
Which we're now coming off a big win for the Cougars, record-setting win in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. First back-to-back victories over Halls.
First home victory over Halls.
First home victory over Halls. The most points scored by any Cougar team in a game.
Most points scored by any Cougar player in a game.
Which was the most touchdowns scored by any Cougar player in a game.
So it's...
And that was a good bit of Tuffy shoots in action. Over 200 yards rushing, well over 200 yards passing, and 7 touchdowns and 2 two-point conversions.
It was an impressive night. This was his last home game. Period. I mean, he's a senior, and even if the cards fall where they may, the Cougars upset Oak Ridge, and the playoff math goes funny, they are not going to get a home playoff game.
No, and this was it to see him, and he went out in style. I mean, you could not ask for a better game to go out on than to set a bunch of school records in your final home game as a starting quarterback.
Tuffy, he's really epitomized the grittiness of this Cougar football team. You know, he was a standard passing quarterback in middle school. For 3 years, worked under a system that was a flex bone type offense. And this year went to the just wide open, no huddle, 4 or 5 receiver set offense that's run by Justin Price.
You know, he got a lot of help this week. Joe Peak came back last week, played a little bit. He was back full time this week. I think he caught 2 of the touchdowns, had a big interception on defense. Joe just hit the ground running. Had a great game.
And it's one of those things that makes you kind of wonder, could things have been a little bit different if Joe Peak would have been healthy all year?
I mean, he would have made some difference in some, like the Hardin Valley game and a few other games were close games. You know, he's a difference maker out there for the Cougars. And, you know, that opened up the running game for Tuffy because they couldn't cover the passes. You know, Matt Marshall had a pretty good game catching. He had caught a couple of long catches. Nathan Rubball caught a nice touchdown fade pass.
Isaac Phillips had some good catches.
Phillips caught some, I'm pretty sure he may have caught a touchdown. I can't remember if he caught a touchdown, but he had some nice catches down the field. I mean, it just opened up everything. The running game, Tuffy, he couldn't be stopped on the ground. Halls had no answer for it at all. And it epitomized, you can look on the volunteertimes.com with the last touchdown that Tuffy scored. We just turned Halls over on 4 downs, and you know Tuffy just got it, ran off, tackle left with it, and just broke some tackles, outran the defense.
Joe Peak had 7 receptions for 97 yards and a touchdown. Josh Parker just sent me the total stat line
here. Peak had a big game. He just came back with a splash, and it really opened things up for Campbell County.
Defensively, we had 2 players with 12 tackles. Jordan Kendrick had 12 tackles, tackle for loss, and an interception. Nick Bailey had 12 tackles.
In the first half, the Cougars offense moved about pretty well. The defense played great to shut down Halls throughout the first half. I think it was 19-7 at the halftime. Third quarter, Halls offense got it going, and it became a shootout from there on out.
It was a good thing we built up that early lead.
Campbell County,
because Halls plays that wide open passing game.
You know, their quarterback actually he started running the ball, and Campbell County didn't have an answer for him running the ball. He was able to move him down the field pretty much solely on his back, and you know, they put 29 points up in the second half, and you know there's one with Cougars scored 28 in the second half. So they had built up the big lead, but when the defense, when it had its letdowns in the second half, when Tuffy got the ball on offense, he put the team on his back and made sure that you know Halls could never get any closer than 14 points.
Tuffy was not going to lose on senior night.
No, not that time. You know, he just just can't say enough about the performance he had and how just overall how good the team has played, how well they've played this year, how much they've improved as the course of the years went on.
And I mean, you know, there's several what could have been key players. Phoenix Asher comes to mind that had injuries that basically ended their seasons before they ever got going.
He was going to be a starting linebacker, and you know, once again look at the volunteer times page and find the interview with Coach Price, and you know you'll see what Coach Price has to say about the contribution that Phoenix, among others, made to this team, even not getting to play. How much of a difference he made.
You know, also, when you talk about just injuries, you know, obviously Joe Peak was injured most of the season. Phoenix Asher, Lucas Schaffner, who would have been the starting running back, which would have put Ethan Miller in a more of a traditional wide-out kind of position.
Ethan lines up out there in the slot a lot on the 5 wide set anyway, but yeah, he would have not have been as worn down from having to pretty much pull double duty on the running and pass receiving fronts.
Of course, he'll be back next year. You look at Ethan Simpson, never saw the field.
He's a big, tall, wide receiver.
Great athlete. Next year's crop of Cougars, it should be an interesting sight.
We'll have to see, you know, how well it does, how the quarterback battle is going to shake out in the spring and fall camp next year.
You know, off-season workouts are going to be, of course, we say that we still have Oak Ridge Friday night.
You still got Oak Ridge, and that's an important game, but you know, you're always looking ahead a little bit as a fan base. You know, it's going to be big to replace Tuffy. He's going to be tough to replace with the ability he has to just take the ball and run.
By that same token, on the defensive line, it is going to be hard to replace Tyler Oaks.
Yeah, he's a stopper down there at defensive tackle.
He is a bull on that line. I mean, even on plays where he's not directly involved, he's huge because it usually takes at least two offensive linemen to block.
There will definitely be some people who need to step up next year, and hopefully more people will come out to the team after seeing how exciting it is this year. It's an exciting atmosphere to be around the coaches, to be around the players. Everything is. I've never saw this much excitement for Campbell County football.
It's pretty magical, fans. I really, if you didn't go to a home game this year, first off, shame on you. Second off, you missed out.
Well, I'll tell you, you've got a perfect opportunity Friday night to go down to probably the nicest field in East Tennessee.
It is. It's tradition rich. It is a small college football type environment.
Oak Ridge, great team, great athletes. You know, they play at the level that Campbell County wants to get to. That's Campbell County's goal, is to be able to play on the same level and see eye to eye with the Oak Ridges, the Anderson Counties, the Pals, the teams that continually make the playoffs year after year out of this district, and you know, win in the playoffs. That's what Campbell County is getting to, and that's what they're going to get to, I believe, with this coaching staff.
I do too now. Pal, they finished the season undefeated because their bye week happens to be week 10. They beat Central, even though I still feel that Cody Blank is an all-around better player than Deshaun Mobley. Just team-wise, Powell is just so good.
And Powell's got just that huge defensive line, 6'3", 270, 280, across their tackles. Great quarterback who's being recruited by Division I colleges.
Running back who's probably going to play SEC football.
Very good running back. Powell has it at every position. And this is their year because they've got a load of seniors.
Yeah, senior night took forever at Powell.
From what I understand, they have 25 to 30 seniors on their team. So you're looking at, they'll have some big losses next year. You know, losing their quarterback, their running back. They'll probably, I think, a couple of their big defensive linemen. So we'll see how they can rebuild. The district's going to be tough again next year.
Right. I mean, Hardin Valley, still a team on the rise. Carnes, if they can build on this season's success, is going to be, you know, a powerhouse.
I think Clinton's going to get better and better.
And Clinton's a lot like Campbell County, young coaching staff that started late.
It's going to be a tough district here, and you know, it's another tough district that Jellico's in as well.
2 top 10 in the state team. games.
And Jellico, you got to give hats off to Jellico. You know, from what I understand, they've not had a kid lead the team this year. They only have 16 kids out there playing all these games. Not a single one of them's quit or gave up. No doubt they're playing with injuries because it's just impossible not to get hurt playing football.
Have to be. I mean,
and I can't say enough good things about Jellico kids and what they've done.
now they have their senior night this Friday against Oneida.
Oneida, very good team in their district, and as good as Oneida is, they're still only the third or fourth best team in that,
Right.
in that district.
To be a traditional power, they kind of pale in comparison to Wartburg and Sunbright right now.
I believe Sunbright beat up on Oneida at Oneida.
They did.
And Oliver Springs also excellent. And Coalfield's powerful in the district. Coalfield's isn't it the other top 10 team?
Right. Sunbright and Cofield, I want to say, are 7 and 8
I mean,
in the state.
it's just a brutal district that Jellico's in. And really, hopefully, they can get more kids to come out next year. The new coaches can get some enthusiasm for football up there. It would be great. I would like to see there be maybe some just cooperation with the Campbell County staff.
I would love to, and it cannot happen next year because of the way that the 2-year scheduling falls. You sign a contract for a home and home series. I would still love to see the Jellico Williamsburg game and instead of a Campbell County Whitley County doubleheader.
It would be outstanding. I'd like to see them maybe do a camp together or something like that. And help each other out. But Jellico, they need bodies out there. So
They do.
I know that there's enough kids to go to that school. You should be able to put 30 people on that team.
Wartburg has a decent size roster.
Yeah.
They're about the same size school as
I
Jellico.
want to say that Wartburg, he may be slightly smaller than Jellico. I know that, who is it, the smallest school in that district?
It's probably Oakdale.
I was thinking that maybe Oakdale Rodney was talking about. It seemed like he said they had 25 or 26 players even. And that's 10 or 12 more than Jellico. But I say, Jellico, you should be able to get 30.
Oakdale and Sunbright are both pretty small.
And Sunbright is just excellent. We saw them play before, and they're just excellent. You just got to build it. And Campbell County's getting there really quickly. I think Jellico can get back quickly if you can get some participation going.
So the potential's there for Jellico. It really is.
On the middle school front, Jacksboro, they advanced to the championship games next Saturday against Oneida.
Going to be down at Anderson County High School.
Anderson County here.
Sadly, I will not be announcing that game. It's everybody's loss.
La Follette, unfortunately, ran into the steamroller again for the second consecutive week.
Yeah, Oneida ended that one early.
Yeah, they got up 32-0 in the first quarter and pretty much pulled back the leash at that point. I mean, honestly, it's no shame in losing to that Oneida team. I'd say we've discussed before, quite possibly the best middle school team.
I've seen high school teams.
He saw a lot of middle school football teams, to say that, based on.
Like I said, the team that was Justin and Matt Price, Devin Douglas, Chris DeMott, Derek Marlowe, and that's just naming 5 or 6 players. I'm talking about this is a team that was stacked head to toe. They would have trouble with that team. Chris Johnson and Cody Parker's middle school team would probably not beat this Jellico team. They're that good.
Oneida's just they usually that's why they end up fielding powerful high school football teams a lot. And their middle school had been down for a couple of years, surprisingly, but they have got it back this year. So their high school that's another team Jellico's gonna have to reckon with for years to come.
Now, of course, here's the interesting thing about that Oneida team. They pretty much run the exact opposite of what the high school runs system-wise. Which, if I was a high school, I honestly might consider switching to that single link.
Well, I'll say this: the reason it makes sense for middle school, you don't want to throw it around the lot in middle school unless you have an excellent quarterback like Jeffers was last year for La Follette. And they don't have to throw it. You put your running backs back there. You're not sure who you're going to snap it to. But they just steamroll people down the field. They can push entire defenses down the field with their offensive line. Their skill players get out there and block wonderfully. Their backs, whichever one doesn't get the ball, is out there blocking perfect. They play perfect fundamental football. Jim O'Neill invented that offense, and He's the winningest coach with over 20 years experience in college football history.
It definitely works. I mean, we actually ran it at Jacksboro for years.
It's basically an unstoppable offense if you have the players to execute it properly. No doubt it does.
You know, we actually, when we put it in at Jacksboro, we brought in a guy named Chan Caldwell that coached with Neyland. That was, I want to say it was Neyland's running back coach. He split his time working with Jacksboro Middle School and Powell Middle School. Call it Powell Middle School. It was Powell's traveling team. And we used to do a camp together every year for 2 days. They would come up and stay at the Family Inn back before it was a horrible, destitute, burned out meth hotel.
Which hopefully will change soon. But
I mean, it worked.
Maybe Jacksboro can pull off the big upset. It would be the biggest upset that probably that you'll see on any level of football. I would compare it to Appalachian State beating Michigan at Michigan a few years ago. It'd be on that level of upset to me.
They are that good.
So it is that power. I'm not. They've not been within 4 touchdowns. I don't think anybody.
And this isn't down in Jacksboro. Jacksboro's got a lot of talent.
And Jacksboro's playing in the championship game, and they've got good players. It's just that Nevada team is something else.
Yeah.
You don't see teams like that. Maybe the Fulton traveling squad that we saw this year, which consisted actually of what would be freshmen in high school as well, could compete with it because they had a lot of speed and some size. They're still not as big as that Nevada team.
Not remotely. But it should be a good game Saturday.
But it's Anderson County weekend. Oak Ridge for the Friday night game, or up here at Jellico if you can make it to that one. And,
like I said, it's their senior night, and they only have, I think, 2 football seniors. But my gosh, folks, if you're up in that area, go give those kids some support. You talk about sticking out a tough senior year.
They've went through a lot in their careers, just like Campbell County seniors have, and they deserve a lot of support. But get down there, get up there, come to the middle school game on Saturday. Be a quiet week for sports for a few weeks after that, waiting on basketball season to start.
Right. We talked to Cody Parker, who's coaching Jacksboro Middle School's boys team, and it's first week in November before he said November 5th, they play at home against Grace Christian, who's supposed to be a powerhouse.
The Grace is really good at everything else, so it wouldn't surprise me.
And then high school basketball probably started about a week after that. We're hitting that spot in high school sports where if your football team does not make the playoffs, you got you a week to kick back and do what you want.
With any luck, you're going to get the win against Oak Ridge Friday night, and maybe the district will shake out in a way that Campbell County can make the playoffs.
It's entirely possible. I still can't explain to you how Z-plane playoff math works.
I'm not sure either. You have to have a calculus formulas and everything else apparently to do it. But I know that since our district split in 2, that it basically doesn't matter what Oak Ridge's record is. It doesn't matter what I think
Hardin Valley and Carnes.
Doesn't matter what Carnes' record is, and it just comes down to Anderson County, Powell,
Hardin,
Clinton,
Anderson Valley, Clinton, Central, Halls,
and basically it's going to come down to Central and Campbell County because we have about the same record in the district play. Halls and we've eliminated Halls and Clinton, and I'm pretty sure that Powell and possibly Anderson County have it wrapped up.
Right, Powell definitely has it wrapped up. Anderson County probably has it wrapped up with their win over Hardin Valley.
I think there may be 3 spots up for grabs.
Right.
I'm not 100% certain, so we'll see what happens on Friday night. First off, you got to get the win Friday, and if you get that, you can worry about it.
Right, the most important thing is you go out and take care of business Friday. Well, fans, we're going to wrap up this segment of Sports Chat. We'll be back to talk some college football, a little bit of pros, a little bit of other stuff. We'll be right back.